Okay, sorry about that. Um, Hello, everyone, and first of all, a very happy ecclesiastical New Year to Eastern Christians today, both Eastern Orthodox and Byzantine Catholic. Happy ecclesiastical New Year. Um, and anyway, as promised a couple of days ago, I'm doing a bonus video. Now, first of all, I'm not going to be putting the devices that I'm talking about on camera. One, because I don't want to bump the main one out of place. And two, because I'm not very comfortable holding one in one hand, because I'm not using the gimbal today. Because this was a spur of the moment decision for me. And there really isn't much to talk about when it comes to hardware. So I've decided not to put these devices on camera. What I want to talk about today has been my experience for the past couple of weeks. I have had, I bought these a couple of weeks ago. I bought a set, and I wasn't sure how this would really work at first. I really was not sure. And I was very skeptical. I'm like, well, if I don't like it, I can just, I'll return them and whatever. But little did I know that this was going to actually wind up being a pretty worthwhile thing to invest in. So I have been an advocate for the use of VPNs for the past few years. VPN stands for Virtual Private Network, for those that don't know. I used a variety of VPNs over the years, going all the way back to 2014, when I used ProXPN. That was one. I used ProXPN. I've tried HMA. I've tried, there was another one that I can't remember the name of that I had for a long time. And then I tried ExpressVPN. NordVPN is the one that is, as far as I'm concerned, the gold standard. And AdGuard VPN, back when I used AdGuard a few years ago, when I used the AdGuard ad blocker, it has an associated VPN. And so I used AdGuard VPN for a while. But I was really tired of having to pay for VPN. Now, I did take advantage of a deal one time with a company called VPN Unlimited, where I could get free VPN for life. But I wasn't very impressed with that particular VPN. And, especially over the past couple of years, with cyber threats being on the rise, I felt it was especially important to use VPNs while on public networks. And a lot of times when I would take trips and I would go to airports, I'd go through airports, or I would, use hotel Wi-Fi networks and stuff like that. I would get on NordVPN. I have a NordVPN subscription all the way until next year. But I wanted something that would combine cybersecurity with a VPN if I so chose to use it. And I had heard about these devices actually last year. I had heard about this company, but I was very skeptical about how it worked. I was not sure what to expect. But I decided a couple of weeks ago to bite the bullet and take the plunge. I had inquired about the accessibility of these devices, and a lot of people didn't know what they were. So I decided, okay, I'm gonna get in here and do it myself. Um, and the idea behind this is a lot of people say it's a free VPN for life, but that's a bit misleading, and I'll explain why in a second, because it's not a traditional VPN. And and in my opinion, the main purpose of this device is cybersecurity and not VPN. Although you can use that, and I'll get to that in a second. But the devices that I'm talking about are from a company called Deeper Network. The website is deeper.network. It's as simple as that. And I have the two devices from them. They have four devices in their product range. There is the Mini SE, the Pico, and the Air. Now, there are differences between these. So I have the Mini and the Air, mainly because I could have gotten the Mini SE and probably, been fine, but I decided I wanted the Mini because of its better, because it can handle more bandwidth. So in effect, what these devices do is they have different purposes. Now, the Pico and the Air are intended to be portable devices. The Pico has a little bit more to offer in the fact that it has a LAN port, and it can be a wireless relay. The Deeper Connect Air is basically a portable wireless router. It acts as a hotspot, and what you do is you create a hotspot using it, and then you connect that hotspot to the network that you're trying to access. And the Mini, the way the Mini is supposed to work is that you take a LAN cable and you run it from your cable modem to the Mini, and then you take another LAN cable and you run it from your router to the Mini. There's two LAN ports on the Mini, and that way it acts as a bridge for all of your network traffic, for all your cybersecurity. It has a 7-layer firewall. It has enterprise level cybersecurity, and it's got ad blocking, tracker blocking, DNS and HTTPS filtering. It's got a whole bunch of stuff, most of which I don't even know about. I'm still learning how to use these things. You can get in there and do a lot of customization with this and how you want it. Now, the Mini can also act as a router. There is a dongle that you get with it that has wireless antennas on it, and when you connect that to to one of the Mini is, imagine a little box, and there's a LAN port on each side and a USB port on each side. USB-C, I believe. Yeah, they're USB-C. And what you do is if you connect the antenna dongle to it, it will act as a router. And then you take in my case, I use T-Mobile Home Internet. So what I do is I have the Deeper Connect Mini connected to my Wi-Fi extender, which is also the router, because the gateway does not have, the main gateway does not have LAN ports on it. It's the router. The Wi-Fi extender is also the router, the access point. In fact, I don't even have any devices connected to the T-Mobile gateway itself. They're all connected to the access point that was created when we connected when I got the Wi-Fi device connected. And the Wi-Fi access point is a signal booster too. So but anyway, I digress. So what I have my Mini set up to do is I connected it to one of the LAN ports on the access point, and it bypasses the router, and it uses it as a router. It's in router mode. There are 3 different modes that you can use the Mini in: router, virtual wire, which is what you're really supposed to use it for, which is where you put it between the router and the cable modem, or router plus virtual wire, where you hook up the antenna and then you use it as a virtual wire. And the advantage to that mode is that you can control, if you want if you want only certain devices to be connected to it, you can, hook it up and use it as a separate router. I wouldn't do that. If I went back to cable, I would use it in, if I went back to Spectrum, I would use it in virtual wire mode and have the cable modem in the router, and have cables going to them. So it is a little bit cumbersome, but the Mini is also very compact. It's actually quite small. And I had also been looking for an accessible way to, an accessible router that wasn't going to break the bank. And so I decided to try Deeper Connect in the hopes that it would be accessible, and also because of the DPN, which I'll get to later on. And I found it to be totally usable. What you do is if you're using it as a router, and I'm going to talk about the Mini first, and then I'm going to talk about the Air. The Air is a different animal. So the Mini, if you use it as a router, you hook up the antenna, and then you hook up then you hook a LAN cable to your. It's intended for all-in-one setups, so like all-in-one modem/router combos. That's what the router mode is for. So you hook it up, and it basically you can make it become your network router. Now there are disadvantages. One is that you can't. It's not a dual band router, so you have to choose whether you want 2.4 or 5 gigahertz. I have mine on 2.4 because I want all of my Internet of Things devices protected. So I put it on 2.4. And if you have T-Mobile home internet, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to disable the frequency that the Deeper Connect will operate on. It's better that way, because if I changed the SSID of the Deeper Connect Mini to the SSID of my Wi-Fi, and then I changed I have the T-Mobile access point only set on 5 gigahertz, and I changed its SSID to Coaster Freak 88 5G. And the Deeper Connect router is Coaster Freak 88, my SSID, that I was using for the dual band T-Mobile router access point. So the thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to disable. You're going to want to disable, in my case, 2.4 gigahertz. Now that's easy to do. It's not the scope of this video, but if you need me if you want help doing it, leave a note in the comments or message me on social media or whatever, and I'll be happy to tell you how to do it. But it is easy to do. It's easy to do. And what you do is you connect to, there's a thing that it will say Deeper Wi-Fi followed by a series of numbers. And you connect to that, and then the password is I love Deeper, all lowercase, DEEPER. Yes, you can change that, and I did. I changed the password. But then you go to 34.34.34.34, log in with username and password admin, and yes, you can change that too. And what I will say, first of all, is that they make you read the terms of service and privacy policy. You actually have to open a window and read them, and then go back and check the box saying that you've read it. Like it will not, the continue button will be, or I think it's called accept, will be dimmed until you have opened the windows and looked at the agreements. And once you've done that, it is very straightforward. You're at a totally accessible dashboard. You can go in there and you can enable or disable settings and whatever. So now the firewall is on by default, and all the cybersecurity features are on by default, except for HTTPS filtering, which I'm having some issues with that, because when I enable HTTPS filtering, YouTube stops working. So I'm not exactly sure what's going on. I'm going to ask on the Reddit, on the Deeper Connect Reddit, when I am eligible to post there, which is going to be in another week. I'll ask about why that might be. And what you can do is you can set smart rules. They call them smart rules. And so that domains will behave differently. You can, there is a crypto element to this. You can do data mining for crypto. I do not do that. But you can do that. You can do data mining, and I'll explain what I know about that. I'll try to. You mine what's called DPR tokens, and those can be traded out for Bitcoin or Ethereum, or you can trade them out for real cash if you wanted to. But the idea behind this is they call it Web 3.0, and you can mine the DPR tokens and pay for services inside the deeper network, such as renting bandwidth from others and stuff like that if you need it. I do not data mine. I want to start doing that, but I'm trying to figure out an accessible way to do it, to get into crypto. But anyway, but if you don't want to use the DPN, you can just, connect it and it works as an accessible router. And if you know what you're doing, you can go in there and tinker around. It uses a web interface called Atom OS. And everything seems to be accessible on it. I have not run into any access issues. I did with the Deeper Connect Air, but those were fixed, and I'll explain how to do that. It wasn't a matter of me having to advocate. But it's a very cool little device. It's a handy little device to have. You can go in there and, like I said, you can do smart rules. Now, let's talk about the DPN here. Now, first of all, DPN stands for Decentralized Private Network. And the idea behind it is that when you have this device connected, whether it be a router in router mode or virtual wire, although I think this works better with virtual wire, you are sharing bandwidth with other people on the network. Your device is a node, and you can share your bandwidth with other people on the network. Now, yes, you can control what people can do when they get to your IP address. So if you want to disallow certain things, like if you don't want to do torrent sharing, if you don't want to allow BitTorrent sharing and stuff like that on your particular node, you can do that. Now, you say, well, you don't connect to a person's individual node. What you do is, when you want to use the DPN, it will route you to the most stable connection. Case in point, let's say that, and of course the main purpose for this is geo-blocking. That's the main thing with this. So let's say that you want to see Netflix in the UK. So what you do is they have a thing called the app relocator, and you go to the app relocator, and you choose, and you say Netflix, you choose Netflix, and you set your tunnel to United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. And tunnels are what they call, like basically connections to other nodes on the network. So other countries. I have several tunnels in my node. I've got several tunnels set up, and you can configure this. There's over 150,000 nodes that are in I believe it's 55 countries, or maybe it's growing now. I don't know. But you can go in and you can customize what apps or domains get routed to different countries. So, like, I have TuneIn routed to the UK instead of the US so that I can listen to certain stations with no ads. And I'm not talking about BBC. For those that are wondering, I'm not talking about BBC. I'm talking about some other channels that some other stations that if I listen to them in the US, I get bombarded with ads every few minutes. It's ridiculous. Um, and so I am able to route that. And the thing is, it just works. You don't have to go in there and do anything. And by default, the DPN mode is called Smart Route. So only what you want routed through it will get routed through it. Everything else will stay local. So, like, I have Netflix going to the UK. I have TuneIn Radio going to the UK. Uh, and I have messed with TuneIn all around the world. I've made tunnels to South Africa and Australia and New Zealand and several others just to see how it worked, and it really does work, and setting up tunnels is completely accessible. Now there is on these devices there is port forwarding. I haven't figured out how to do that yet, but there is you can do port forwarding and other things that you would expect a router to do. And things like that, but I haven't figured out how to do that yet. And I don't need to at this point, because I am no longer doing amateur radio. So I don't need to have the clear node forwarding ports. I don't need to forward ports to the clear node so that the clear node can use them. I no longer need that. So I'm not doing port forwarding anymore. But so and like I said, the security, there are one-click parental controls. If you've got kids, you can actually ban apps on your network. Like, if you want, like, parental controls, like if you don't want your kids watching TikTok, you can ban TikTok entirely from the network. You can block it. You can block, Netflix. You can block apps or domains that you don't want your kids going to. And like I said, it just works. It just doesn't. It just works. You don't have to. It's just one click. And so they're very accessible. Firmware updating is supposedly automatic, but I chose to do a manual upgrade when an update came out last week, by choice. Now, I also have some other features set up in here. I have my Mini will reboot every Saturday night at midnight. It will reboot itself, to basically to make sure everything is still working and stuff like that. But my main reason for getting this was not the DPN. It was for the cybersecurity and the firewall and stuff like that. And one thing that I've noticed is that because of its tracker blocking, one thing that I've noticed is that my internet speeds have gotten faster, a little bit faster actually, and less trackers are getting to my phone. So a lot of apps are performing faster as well. The connections are faster. But the DPN is also accessible. If you want to do the DPN. Now I'm going to talk about the other one that I have. Now, this is the Deeper Connect Air is their most portable device. It does not have LAN ports. It does not have anything. It is just this credit card size thing with an antenna on each side that you unfold and USB-C on one end. Although there is a USB-A attachment that you can a little USB-A thing that you slide it on and you can connect it to USB-A devices. And it is a little wireless router. It's a little travel hotspot. And what you do is, just like before, you connect it. And one thing I forgot to mention about the Mini is that you wait about 3 or 4 minutes after connecting the Mini. If you have some site, there are lights that flash on it, and when they get to a certain color, I can't remember what the color is, then you know that you're ready to go. But if you're totally blind, you give it like 3 or 4 minutes, and then you get on your phone or your computer and you scan for networks, and then you find it. But so the Air is the same way. You connect the Air, and you get a thing that when the network comes up, it says, deeper Wi-Fi password is I love deeper 34.34.34.34. Now here is where it's a little bit different. The Air, at least the Air that I got, was running version 1 of Atom OS, which is not as accessible. I didn't know this, and I was ready to contact Deeper support and say, why are these devices different and not running the same interface? I'm totally blind, and I use a screen readers, and the Air is less accessible. Can you please work on this? Well, come to find out that it needed to be updated to Atom OS 2.0, and then once I did that, I got the accessible interface similar to the Mini. So anyway, but the Air is completely wireless. You can't hardwire devices to it. You can't do that. For that, you use the Pico. Now the Deeper Connect Air can handle up to 300 Mbps. The Deeper Connect Mini can handle up to 1 gig BPS. The Mini SE can handle 500 megabits per second, and the Pico can handle 100 megabits per second. The Pico is, the main differences between the Pico and the Air are that the Pico can act as a wireless relay, and I believe it also has a LAN port on it. I haven't actually seen one, but I understand that it has a LAN port on it. And so with the Deeper Connect Air, it's a little bit different, because what you do is you connect to it, and then you go to 34.34.34.34. You go through the initial setup process where you accept the terms of use and agreements and whatever. And then what you do is you scan for networks, and you connect the Air to the Wi-Fi network that you want it to be on. And then once it has an internet connection, it starts working. And it works the same way as the Mini, with the security and the firewall and all that. It works like that. And there are a couple of disadvantages. One that I heard about on YouTube that I agree with is that whatever you hook it up to, it's going to kind of hover. Now, the beauty of the Air is that you can literally hook this up to any USB power source. Any USB-C power, any USB-C device can power this, or USB-A if you have the attachment. So if you have one of those surge protectors that has built USB ports, and you've taken it on the road, you just take that little thing and hook it up, and hook it up to your USB port, and it just works. It's very cool like that. And the Air works the same way as the Mini. Once you get it up and running, and you may have to update your Air to version 2, and then once you do that, you can go from 2.0 to 2.03, which is the version that came out last week. And the way that you do that, in fact, I would urge you to do that as soon as you get it. You're going to know if you're running version 1 when if you're using iOS, VoiceOver will say like menu, selected menu, and all that. You're going to go to, there'll be one that says device, and you double tap that, and then you go to the right one, and that menu is system information, and you go down from there, and you'll see a thing that says manual upgrade. Do that, and give it a few minutes to do its thing, and then you will have the accessible interface. You can also change the password, the admin password, which I did. And you can also change the SSID and password, which, again, I also recommend that you do. And if anybody wants to know more, I can talk a little bit more about how to do that. But it is very, very straightforward. Now, I will say that I have a lot of I know some ham radio operators who use travel routers. What I would tell you guys is keep using the ones that you have. Because this is not, I don't think that this is going to be what you need. I don't think that the deeper routers, I don't think that the deeper devices are going to be what you need to do your talk and stuff from the road. Now, I'm not saying that you can't get it to work, and if you can get it to work, good on you. But I don't know how to get into those advanced settings. I know there's a way to do it. And, I really have to hand it to, Deeper Network's got a YouTube channel, and they do a very good job at explaining how to do stuff. Even though they say, like, go to the menu on the left and look for this, it's very easy to figure out. And like I said, the interface past version 2.0 is screen reader accessible. It's very good. And, I finally found something that I can safely say acts as an accessible router and will act as a hardware-based, some people might call it a hardware VPN. So anybody that, if you know how VPN works, you know that, you have a client that connects to centralized servers. Well, with these deeper devices, you are your own client and your own server. And you're less likely to get, continue to be blocked. You're less likely to continue to be blocked from accessing stuff because you are using IP addresses from the country you're trying to get to. So you're using residential IP addresses from that country. And so it's a lot harder to detect that you're doing that. Now, first of all, I'm not saying that everybody should go out and do that, because I know that most people, they don't do that. I was only experimenting when I did this. When I used VPNs before, I would mainly use them for security. When I would connect, when I was on public Wi-Fi, I would connect to VPNs for security. Now you say, well, I don't want to go carrying around a Deeper Connect Air. And I don't blame you, because first of all, the Deeper Connect Air gets really hot, not burning your fingers hot, but hot enough that you feel it. And they are working on an app for iOS and Android. I believe it's going to be just called DPN or something like that. It is in beta right now. When I tried to get it in test flight recently, I tried to re-download it. They had this thing in all caps that said remove the app. So I think they're working on, it's still being worked on, but they are working on a version of this where you'll be able to run the DPN functions on your phone. So, if you need to connect for security and whatever, if you want to get on, you can use the decentralized approach and, use nodes and tunnels, custom tunnels and things like that. And, you can adjust. There's a feature called access control where you can control what devices connected to it get access to. So like, say you have HTTPS filtering turned on, you can have certain devices bypass it. And you can have, certain things like that. You can customize each device to have different things. So it's a very cool thing. And I know that for some people will be like, well, you're not, I'm trying to explain this the best I can, but I am new to the Deeper ecosystem, and there's a lot that I don't know. I mean, all I know is that I finally found something that works, as far as cybersecurity and things like that. I found something that actually works. You just hook it up and it works. That's the big thing about it. For me, the draw was not the DPN. It was the cybersecurity. The DPN was just it was a side thing for me. And if you don't want to use it, you can disable it completely and just use it as a cybersecurity device. But that kind of defeats the purpose of it, because you're sharing bandwidth with other people. And if you want to do crypto and get on the blockchain, then you need to enable bandwidth sharing. I mean, but again, you can turn it off and just use it as a security device if you want to. You can just turn it off and use it. But a lot of people would say, well, you're missing the point of having that if that's all you're going to do. But I know that there will probably be people that aren't comfortable having their bandwidth shared by other people connecting to their deeper nodes. So, it's not, so they make that an option. If you want to just use it as a security device, as a hardware security device, you can do that. Now, the Mini is a little bit more practical for home use. The Mini and Mini SE were actually intended for home use. The Pico and the Air are intended for portable things. I use I chose the Air because of its 300 megabit per second support compared to the Pico's 100, and also because the Air is smaller. Although the Pico's pretty small too. All of these devices are tiny. They're all tiny. So I will say that. Now, getting back to my point earlier, the reason that I didn't want to show the Mini on camera is because, having to feel for where it is, I didn't want to move it out of place because I have the antennas connected to it, and I didn't want to bump the dongle. So that's why I chose not to put it on camera. I could have, held the phone with the gimbal, the selfie stick mode on the gimbal, and pointed it, but I didn't feel like doing that. I didn't feel like getting the gimbal out today. But I would say that if you are looking for an accessible cybersecurity device that is just plug and play, hook it up, and it just works, I would highly recommend a Deeper Connect device. Now, if you have a more than 1 gig connection, this is not for you. They do not have a device yet that supports, multiple gigabits per second. The Mini is only one gigabit per second. And that's the top of the line one, is the Mini. So anyway, like I said, highly recommend these devices. I really do. I recommend them. And like I said, the Air, Deeper Connect Air, you can hook that thing up to any USB device or port, and it will power it. It's a very you don't have to hook it up to your phone all the time if you don't want to. You can hook it up to a power bank. You can hook it up to, like, if you've got say you're at a hotel that's got USB ports built into the nightstand, as some do now, where they have USB ports built into certain features. You just use one of them and connect that, and like I said, it just works. Now, the antennas are a little bit loose. That's the one thing I can say that I don't like about the Deeper Connect Air, is that the antennas are kind of loose. They're aware of it. I don't think there's anything that really can be done. But so that's just something to keep in mind if you do that. If you choose that route, just be careful not to bump the antennas once you've unfolded them. So anyway, So highly recommend, 10 out of 10 for the deeper devices. You can go to deeper.network if you want to learn more. Um, and you can look at this. Now, I really encourage people, though, there are a lot of videos on YouTube talking about these devices. I really recommend that you watch videos, you read people's points of view, because, for this doesn't work for some people. So and for some people may not be very comfortable with it. Again, you can disable bandwidth sharing. You can disable the decentralized private network if you don't want it. You can, now there is also a full routing option, where if you want all of your traffic to go through DPN nodes, you can do that. You can change the mode and create a tunnel to the country you want, and all of your traffic will go through it. But for the most part, you won't need that if you choose to do it, because most of the time you can just use Smart Route and it works. So there's that. But anyway, so I have tried to be informative. I hope that I have explained this in a way that people will understand. If you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to me, and I'll be happy to answer your questions to the best of my ability. And by the way, when you have it in virtual wire, I believe the way that it works there is you don't connect to it doesn't make a deeper Wi-Fi network. What you do is you connect it, and then you go to 34.34.34.34, and you take care of it from there. I believe that's how that works. If you're using the Mini in virtual wire mode, you go to the IP address that's built into it, and then you configure it. It just works. But anyway, so I hope that I've explained this in a way that people understand. Like I said, I really hope I have not confused people. But if you have any questions, you may reach out to me, and I'll answer them to the best of my ability, especially when it comes to accessibility of these devices. Like I said, it is very accessible. Once you get updated to now, the Mini, I think you'll have version 2.0 in there already. You'll have it in there. The Air, you may get version 1, and in that case, all you have to do is upgrade. You don't need to write to the company and say, fix this. It doesn't work with my screen reader. All you got to do is upgrade. You upgrade it. It's free. And once you've done that, it's accessible. So anyway, I hope that you have enjoyed this. I hope that I have explained it in a way that you will understand. Sorry, I'm spinning my chair around. I hope that I've explained this in a way that you understand. And if not, like I said, feel free to reach out to me, and I will do the best I can to answer your questions. But like I said, great cybersecurity device. Plug it in. It just works. It's great. All of these devices are. So anyway, if you liked this, feel free to subscribe and click the notification bell. I don't know when I'm going to be doing another video. I am going to do a video at some point talking about my trip to Cedar Point. And I may do that in the next couple of weeks. I'll do a video talking about my friend and I's trips this summer to Indiana Beach and to Cedar Point. So anyway, that is all for now. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.